As we all know, we lost a rap great a couple days ago. DMX died at 50 years old of an overdose. And apparently, like, we kind of knew this is the direction it was heading over the last week because there was reports that he wasn't doing too good. And yeah, his family said it was official, I think, on Friday. So um, GMX was one of the best to do it. He had 5 Billboard #1s. He kind of dominated the late '90s, early 2000s. Gave us countless hits. Like he is one of the rap greats, and he's definitely going to be missed. And I don't know, like it's really sad that we're losing so many like rap greats like this year and last year. It's honestly really sad. I'm not going to tell
Yeah.
my DMX story again because you guys ruined that for me. Audience, if you want to know
How
what
did
I'm
we
talking about,
ruin that for you?
Um.
we're on the verge
Yeah.
of breaking up here.
No. Yeah. It's sad about DMX.
Sorry.
I'm not gonna lie and be like I was the biggest. I'm not. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like even a big fan. I ain't really like. I'm not the super familiar. Like I've heard his music before, obviously, but like, um, I wasn't the biggest DMX fan, but I was a fan. I don't know if this is. I was a fan of the person. I always liked his interviews, like on the Breakfast Club and other interviews he's done. He was a really interesting person. It always felt like I don't know. Since like his music career, like his not post music career, but like him being at the heights he was. It felt like he was always changing. Always. I don't know if the word's evolving, but always changing. And yeah, it's very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. Obviously, he was in that in that state for like a week, but they just recently pronounced him dead. So it's really unfortunate. And DMX is I think people forget, they just know the songs, but people people really care for DMX a lot. I think it's one of those artists who are like, oh, DMX, y'all gonna make that one of those like, oh, you just know him from the songs, but like people care for DMX. And for a 3-year run in the late '90s into the early 2000s, he was one of the biggest artists in the world. So yeah.
And I'm going to share my DMX story. When I was a kid, I went to Nigerian church in Atlanta. One day they brought all the kids and youth into a room, like the main sanctuary, and sat us down. Or like, we're having a big guest this week. You're not allowed to talk to him. You can't take a picture of him. You can't, don't bother him. And like DMX walked into our church and like attended our sermon that day. And I remember that being one of the first images I had of him in my brain, because this was I must have been like 6, so maybe like 14 or 15 years ago, 16 years. How old am I? 16 years ago, maybe. And like that was one of the first images I had. And a lot of people don't know that about him, but apparently he was like at a time in his life a pretty devout, very religious man. I think it was after one of his like he was going through some stuff, and that was the other side. So beyond being a rap figure, that was always my image of him, and it's just really sad that he's no longer with us. And we've just lost a lot of like really great rap legends over the last couple of years. Like MF Doom last year, that was big. Like it's really sad. So I don't know. Rest in peace to DMX, and we're sending our condolences to his family.
Absolutely.
Gosh, a somber start. But welcome to the 97 Demo podcast, where we give you the latest in music, news, and a whole bunch more along the way. This week, we're talking about a topic we've teased for a couple of weeks. We're finally having our NFT breakdown explainer episode. We talked to someone who's far more of an expert than any of us are about the ins and outs of NFTs, what it's all about, why it's so popular, and what both artists and consumers get out of it. He answered my questions. I feel like I have a better understanding now. So definitely stick around for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he definitely gave us really full, thought out answers to all of our questions. So
yeah, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and jump into headlines. We're going to try to run through these pretty quick. This one was pretty big, and I'm learning that this is a trend that artists do. So Netflix has acquired the rights to a Kanye West documentary for $30 million. But the big thing for me is this documentary has apparently been like, at least to a certain degree, in the works for the past 21 years. They've been filming Kanye West's life for 21 years. So 21, what year is this now? So that was 2000. So apparently this documentary, you're gonna see this little Chicago producer become one of the biggest rappers in the world, his ups and downs, and like up until now, even his divorce with Kim Kardashian. And that scope, seeing that full image of Kanye West, I'm not sure I'm ready for that, because that's gonna be huge. At least if this footage is as complex and insightful as I hope it is, then you're gonna see the ups and downs of like his mom passing, the Taylor Swift incidents, the bursts of creation that led to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Like, I just think it'd be such an amazing opportunity to get like this rare perspective of who Kanye West actually is.
Is Kanye West like one of the executive producers, or is he like the Kuti and Chike? They're good. They're dope. They're super dope. They did the Benji one.
Oh,
they're
Chike,
dope.
shout out to Nigeria.
Yeah, they're dope. They're from Chicago too. Wow, that's dope. They're really dope filmmakers. But is Kanye like a executive producer in this? I was wondering like what's his connection to it.
I don't think so.
I think he's probably just providing the footage.
That's honestly.
I don't even know if he's providing
the series will also deal with the death of his West mother. It's a documentary series. I think they said it's like, will it be 10? I don't know why 10 feels like a number in my head. Like 10
feels
episodes.
This feels like everyone's dropping on like the Last Dance kind of thing, where everyone wants their kind of like Last Dance documentary.
Absolutely.
Like Tom Brady's getting one, now Kanye West is getting one, and they're all multi-part series.
Tom Brady.
So, that's what it feels like to me. I don't know.
No, I definitely agree with you, and it's interesting because we're talking about that because I've listened to stuff about that, and everybody wants their moment, and then that's why I was asking about the Kanye thing because for better or for worse, and these documentaries about these just people, whether it's athlete, artist or anybody or public figure, it's the person always involved. It's like a documentary about Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade's the executive producer, or it's a documentary about Kanye and he's the guy that picks what's in it. And obviously it's still cool, but you don't always get like a, I guess, 360 look at it sometimes.
I mean,
well, I'm sure with this, like Kanye is going to have some say in like what makes
absolutely. And I don't know if, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just like, I don't know. It's just really interesting. And the another thing is like, although Kanye, it's 21 years, it's still interesting because it feels like there's there's so much more in the Kanye story that it's still not done, where like you feel like you still have to, like if Jay-Z did a documentary now, it'd feel more like complete because Jay-Z's kind of just chilling now. But Kanye, he's still in the thick of him doing stuff, him involved in things.
I don't feel like, I'm not sure I agree with this idea that you can only have a documentary at the end of your career.
I know. No, I agree. But the fact that it's 21 years, it feels like a more like roundabout. And I was like, oh, it's just interesting because it's not like his career is over. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Michael Jordan had 30 documentaries before The Last Dance. He had a lot of documentaries. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
What this says to me is I think even if his career isn't over, Kanye may accept that his peak is over.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's the story. Once you like every story, once you have the growth, the peak, and the come down, it's like I think maybe he's now determined that the arc is there.
I don't know. Him as an influencer is crazy. Dude's a crazy billionaire. He's easy sell out everywhere.
Doesn't it seem like the line between these documentaries of like, and maybe you can push back, maybe I'm a little misguided in saying this, but like the line between like good journalism and entertainment in these things is like
agree.
These people being involved in it. As we saw with like The Last Dance, like a lot of stuff in The Last Dance was conflated and like might not have even been true to make Michael Jordan look a little better.
I'm not sure you can call these journalism.
Yeah, no, it's entertainment, right?
Well, yeah,
because to Noah's point, like at least with this, we saw that Kanye isn't the executive producer. At least it'll be
because this dude's been filming. One of these guys been filming with Kanye since the '90s and has this footage.
Yeah, so, Kuti and Chike, they're both from Chicago.
You can't call this journalism because I even if this has tough scenes, I doubt this will hold him to full account. Like this is going to be a documentary about the life of Kanye West. They're gonna glorify him to an extent. And I don't think that's what their purpose is. I don't think the purpose is to give.
We have to see
the fiction. I think it's going to be more of like this is entertainment of Kanye West's life over the last 20 years, and they know there's people like me who are going to tune into that regardless of that sentence alone.
Absolutely. I don't think Avery saying it's a bad thing because like
I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
We keep saying Last Dance, but like that was like the big one. That's like the biggest documentary ever at this point. But like it wasn't journalism, but it was entertainment, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed it.
I just thought that was really interesting because it could have been like good journalism, but then
exactly
like him attached to it.
Oh look, so here, while West is not creatively involved in the production, the second source says he essentially is given his support by allowing himself to be filmed by Kuti and Chike for 21 years.
I'm interested.
They've been filming. I didn't even realize that. Yeah. Like these two.
I'm sure they've been filming it since the 90s.
That's insane.
I am very interested in how it's going to be. Is it just going to be like a
30 mil doesn't like
I don't know.
Like I can see like right now, like who's big right now? Like Patrick Mahomes probably has a video crew following him around for 20 years.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like at the end of it, he's like, "Oh, here's my story." Like
insane to me. That is so insane to me. That's amazing. Like, I look forward to seeing how that turns out.
I'm interested in the style it's gonna be. Is it gonna be just like video? Because you know sometimes documentaries is not even interviews, just video or like ever. You know there might not be something to the end, but
we'll have to wait and see. I think we're all equally excited. But here's something that I just thought was really funny, and I read Avery sent this, and I read it, and I'm like, this is hilarious.
Yeah, the story was awesome.
So can anything stop tech companies from working with will.i.am? I'm not sure I realized this, but will.i.am apparently has like a long track record of trying to release tech products that like flop.
And he's always like too early. He's always
yeah. Which is like
not a bad problem to have.
He's ahead of their time,
yeah. Perhaps, maybe. It's like he I want to say he provides the blueprint, but he has like a very early thing on something that gets elaborated on later and is made much better.
So he's the test subject?
Yeah, he's the epitome of like an entrepreneur who just throws stuff at the wall to see what sticks.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
But so I thought these were cool. I just think it's too late in the game because they're on the outs of the pandemic. So basically, he has created with Honeywell a super mask spelled with the X that it connects to the internet. It has Bluetooth headphones. It lights up at night. And there's one other thing about it that I'm not sure I'm remembering. It has filters, noise canceling earbuds, and lights up at night. So it's really it. And he said he wanted to do this because, you know, current masks just give you doom and gloom, and he wants his to give you, you know, creativity, and express yourself.
It's $300.
It's $300. So is that, and as this article points out, I can get a good mask for $12 and my AirPods are $150. So, you know.
Yeah. Also, okay, so will.i.am's track record is he's tried wireless earbuds back in 2016. He tried a smartwatch in 2014. He tried a different smartwatch in 2016. And then he also tried, I guess, a line of something. What was that? Recycled products. I'm assuming clothing or something in 2015. And then a phone case camera in 2012.
What's wild about what we just said is every single one of those things has now been like created and it's huge. He tried a smartwatch in 2014 and 2016. The Apple Watch is now the biggest selling wearable around.
Wireless earbuds, AirPods, camera, huge.
Like, that's insane.
Did you guys?
Oh no, maybe he's just not the voice for these products. Like it's just like nobody.
I don't think it's a matter of him not being the voice. I think he's just always too early.
But I'm saying if will.i.am's coming out with a smartwatch, it's different than Apple Watch. Say we're coming out with a smartwatch and people buying it. Like will.i.am is maybe. I mean, I don't know why will.i.am, like maybe because he just makes futuristic type music, like he's just a guy that you think about, but like maybe he's just not the voice behind these, because if will.i.am comes out with smarts, I'm not buying that. If Apple came out with a mask, I still would be like, that's some bullcrap, but I'd be like, oh, so it's legit. And then I'd be like,
funny. It's just funny to me. It's like a very epitomized version of like an entrepreneur, right? Like a million bad ideas, and he's gonna have one good idea one day.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, but the thing is, he has though, and these are how tech startups work, to what Avery's saying. And like, you want to know what his one big success was?
What was it?
Beats by Dre. He was involved in that.
Yeah.
So like he some of these end up working out for him. It's just that you have to find out.
That's different because his name it's Beats by Dre, Dr. Dre, the biggest producer ever.
Okay, but no. It works because will.i.am essentially gave the blueprint for that product. So it's like, I'm not saying it, like he that was a product he had that ended up being successful, or that he was involved in that ended up being a huge success. Like they're not marketing any of these as like face masks by will.i.am. Like no, it's like a face mask. Like it's a super mask by Honeywell. Like any
it's funny because like this would like he probably had this idea like early last year, and it just took a year to product test and and figure out, and now it's like, oh, we developed the fastest vaccine in history and we might be on the outs of this pandemic relatively soon.
Okay, that's so I look forward to seeing if this is a success, because I am, just like I root for the Black Eyed Peas, I am rooting for will.i.am's tech products. And this is the last thing that's right up our alley, so I wanted to make sure we talked about it, and it's kind of old, but whatever. So a group of top songwriters, I mean, they've written for everyone: Ariana Grande, Lil Mix, other pop people. I just can't remember all the names on that list.
Bunch of songwriters.
They came together and formed a collective asking songwriters to stop taking credits or requesting publishing rights for songs they didn't write. which I knew was a thing. I've always theorized was a thing, but I just feel validated knowing that they're actually saying this is a real big problem. And essentially what they're saying is right now the current structure is when you write for someone who's maybe big, they'll say, oh, list the person as a writing so they can collect publishing. And so, you know, they can say, you know, when their album comes out, you see their name under the writing column. And what they're basically saying is by doing that, you're dipping into our money. Like we only get publishing revenue when we release a song. For those who don't know, when a song is released, there's a whole bunch of royalty streams and income streams. Publishing is what comes from just songwriting. So, you know, when you remember that an artist also gets to promote and get that much money and get the recording revenue money and, you know, get sponsorship and endorsements, all a songwriter has is publishing revenue. So when an artist demands to get a cut of that pie, it's like, well, what are you leaving for us? And what are you doing to really deserve it? So it's really interesting. I think I'm trying to find the list of people who have joined this. I know Victoria Monet has joined this.
Taylor Parks.
Yeah, Taylor Parks is on there.
Dua Lipa, Ariana Grande, Lord.
Yeah, and they
haven't joined, but they've worked with these artists.
They've worked with
Dua Lipa, Ariana Grande, and Lord are not on the have not signed up.
They hadn't signed it. They hadn't signed
music for them. And I just think I want to see where this goes. Is I hope that like I didn't see any buzz after this, and I'm hoping that like they listen because this seems like it's a problem that I knew that makes sense. I could look out and see this and say this probably exists, and it's messed up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, is anything new?
Probably why you see people like Victoria Monet and Taylor Parks coming out with their own music now. They're like,
absolutely,
well, it's
absolutely.
Now, so.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting you say that because Victoria Monet, obviously, people knew her as a songwriter before she was an artist, and I was wondering if this wasn't going on, would she have made her own music? She probably would have. I'm saying she probably would have, but that's definitely a motivating factor that may have sped up the process, I would say.
Yeah. Another big one is I don't know if he's probably not on the letter, but like Chris Stapleton started off writing music for other people. Frank Ocean started off writing music for other people, and now they're massive.
The dude that's dating Megan Thee Stallion, Partisan Fontaine, he's a songwriter. That's what he does, and now he's making his own music. And so it's I feel like it sped up the process. They probably would have made their own music, but it just sped up the process. Them
probably like this sucks. Like
this really sucks. You know, this really sucks. So let me do this all myself.
And it just makes it like I promise you, like there are huge artists that probably I imagine that most A-list artists demand that they be listed as a writer, even if they're not that involved. And that's messed up. So I'm hopefully this pact gets more support, and you know there's more attention given to this because hey, let songwriters have their money. Let's dip into new releases real quick so we can run through these. The only two we'll talk about all of them per usual, but the only two I really want to highlight is Fearless, Taylor Swift. This is we've talked a lot about her re-recording all of her albums. This is the first one she's put out. So I guess trying to get back at Scooter Braun, who I think sold her rights. I don't even think Scooter Braun owns it anymore, but whatever investment group now owns Taylor Swift Masters, this is her way of getting back at.
The best tweet I saw of the week called it ethically sourced Taylor Swift music. So
yeah, that's literally what it is. Ethically sourced Taylor Swift music. Apparently it's already broken Spotify streaming debuts for this year, despite being a 13-year-old album. I'm sure it's going to debut at #1 on Billboard, despite being a 13-year album. But hey, I'm not mad at it because I think Taylor Swift being the giant that does this will honestly trickle down and help some of these smaller artists who don't own their music and get screwed over. But a big thing to note about this, based off of what we just said, the only reason Taylor Swift can do this is because she was the songwriter of all those albums and she owns the publishing on all those albums. So she can go re-record them because she wrote them. And that I think is what's so unique. It was the same with JoJo, who I think also re-recorded all her music. Like when you write on your stuff, there's power that comes with it. So I'm rooting for you, Taylor. Let's see how you do and see if you stick to your promise of doing 6 re-recorded albums. And then Welcome to America from Prince. That was the other one I want to talk about because this is like a newly never heard. This is a song, isn't it? I did have that correction. Yeah. So Welcome to America by Prince. It's a song, but it's coming from an album that his estate says they're releasing that's of timely but never released material. The song gave me like 80s vibes. I don't know if y'all listened to it.
Prince has always been like a very political artist. So like absolutely. I don't know why they're like this is a political, like a lot of his albums have been a lot of his songs at least have been very political. So but Prince has this like legendary back catalog and I think they're planning on releasing a lot of it. So
I think the thing with Prince is he just didn't care what people thought.
Absolutely. It's just funny that they're like building this up to be like a timely, but like he's always.
Well, he never cared. He never cared what
Yeah, exactly. This has been his thing. That's why he's Prince. He's Prince.
That's why he's Prince. You know what I'm saying? So
it's just time. Prince has always been ahead of the curve, but I think now it's extra time. Maybe the content material feels extra timely.
Well, absolutely.
To what Avery's saying, is the fact that he was coming up with this stuff decades ago.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. So yeah, it's just interesting because he's not the one really. Obviously, it's his people, his family, or whatever. Owns his music. So. Exactly. Yeah, you already know what I was hyped about. That Sonder.
Wait. Are you gonna say Roadrunner? Are we gonna skip over Brockhampton like that? Because we're not doing that on this podcast.
Okay, first of all, we're not gonna act like who put you on Brockhampton. I'm gonna call you out, right? We're not gonna act like what. We don't gonna act like
you didn't put me onto Brockhampton.
We're not gonna act like what happened here. We're not gonna act like a change
for that before I give you credit for that.
Who put Chanel on? Oh,
that's not my business. Anyway, Roadrunner, New Light, New Machine by Brockhampton came out, and I'm glad to report it is a good album. We may review it next week.
We're gonna
commit.
We're gonna review it. Yeah, we're gonna review it.
Are we committing? All three?
Have you guys listened to the whole thing?
Yes.
I've listened to half, but of the half I've listened to, I really enjoyed. I like Bank.
We're gonna review it next week.
We're gonna review half the album. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So
it's good.
All right, Noah, tell us what you were hype about now. Nobody but you.
Nobody but you, Sonder, Georgia Smith. It's so crazy because on like Thursday in the middle of the day, Sonder did like a YouTube live of like 12-minute thing. I don't know if it was one song or like multiple songs.
I know it was the first one on there.
I wasn't the first one. I wasn't the first one on there, but then this came out and I really enjoyed it. It's a really slow song. And you guys know I love my Brent, but Georgia, I had to say, I told Avery this. Georgia really stood out on this song a lot. She has an incredible voice, and I always said like Brent is not like a traditionally, he doesn't have like a traditional voice or something like that. Like the hit the notes like that's more Georgia style, but they both sound great on this song. And it's interesting because Brent is like getting into like his love song bag of like, hey, I miss you, girl. Not like F the world, like, hey.
Well, he's dating someone now, right? So.
Exactly. Yeah, he has a girl. He has a girl.
Got a girl. So.
He has a girl. I don't know. She's not public, but
can't do F the world again. So.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Unless you want to, yeah. So it's interesting. I'm into it. So
yeah. I have to shout out "Shy Away" by 21 Pilots. They're getting on their like 80s vibe, which like it's a weird wave going through like music right now. Everyone's trying to do an 80s thing. So, but I really liked it. It's a good song.
I was a fan. No, I liked it a lot too.
Yeah.
I'm also did y'all listen to Kiss Me More?
Yes, it was good.
Oh, this was good.
So, but do you want to know how I feel about it though? I listened to that song and I was like, this very much so feels like the label was like, we want another Say So. So give me another Say So. That song. I got major Say So vibes from Kiss Me More.
Doja Cat just does this.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But like, I'm not. I feel like that is an important reality. They were probably like, hey, like when we're doing it, we need new music. Say So was a smash. Like, give me something like Say So, because this song feels like when you listen to it, feels very much so like Say So vibes to me.
I don't blame them because I want Doja Cat to do more of that sound. So
I don't blame. I'm not saying.
Also, if there's one thing they should learn from Say So, it's like don't force it. Just let it happen.
Don't force it. That's
especially with Doja's music. Like it lends itself so well to like what the Say So formula was with TikTok and everything. Yeah. Like. They don't even.
The video was really good too.
Yeah,
I'm not even into the TikTok stuff. I just
love
the way
a huge
it sounded.
Part of Say So. That was.
Absolutely.
The video had the dance in it and everything. So.
Yeah,
I agree. I just personally love the way it sounded. I thought it was really very, very.
And so did TikTok.
Pleasant.
Yeah. I also have to shout out "Set the Table" by Nnamdi. There's an artist I'm getting into, and then Claude's on it, who I love their album. So.
You know what's so crazy? A long time ago, we was like, "Who's this artist, Nnamdi?" Remember, we was like, "Who is that?" Remember that? Yeah. It was a long time ago, and now
he's pretty good.
Exactly.
Pretty good.
So.
I didn't think Ada's gonna be the one to have to do this because Noah's here, but we had like a whole Griselda thing, and Noah he didn't touch it, but we had Money on the Table, Belly featuring Benny the Butcher, which I thought was great. Blood Roses, Call Me the Machine, Jay Skeezy, which I thought was also great. And then Stain, which it was Westside Gunn and Peter Rosenberg, and I was confused, but I don't think Peter Rosenberg is rapping. I think he's just doing a DJ Khaled type of.
Griselda has those boys working.
Well, I mean, Griselda releases a song every week. I think Peter Rosenberg's coming out with his own album, like a DJ, like you said, DJ Khaled type thing. I think he's coming out with the album. So, I mean, I've been wearing out the dang Benny the Butcher project. I'm not lying. I listen to it. That's all I literally listen to. So I mean, I'm gonna listen to it. It's probably good. So
No, they were good. I liked it. I think you would like Staying a Lot.
You think so?
A lot. Yeah.
I mean, West Side Gun. I don't know. I switch who I like. And then Conway the Machine. He's the underrated guy. So I mean, they're all dope. So yeah.
And then this is one of the few weeks where I listen to everything. So I'm not gonna keep on hyping it up, but there was a lot of good other releases this week. So check them out.
Dope. That's a good thing. Good music is a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so I guess now it's time for a discussion. Like we previewed, we're talking NFTs with Jonathan Mann. He runs a podcast called Digitally Rare that's all about cryptocurrency, so check that out. And he has this cool project where he's been making a song every single day for more than 12 years.
He's
13. He's on his 13th year.
Avery, what's the count?
Today, whenever he comes out with this video today, it will be his 4,483rd song in a row.
4,000.
He's not lying.
That's
I thought this was fake. I didn't think it was real.
That's insane. The skill that takes. And the cooler thing that made this even more relevant is he's selling some of them as NFTs. So he's kind of, not only is he an expert with his podcast, who's been in NFTs for a minute now, but he's also, as an artist, releasing music as NFTs. So he definitely felt like the right person to talk to. So we decided to, and we had a nice 30-ish minute conversation about NFTs, their rise in popularity, and the benefit for both creators and artists.
This is the interview for people who's like, I need to explain like I'm a fifth grader.
The Dummies Guide to NFTs.
The Dummies Guide, exactly.
The Dummies Guide. Is that
NFTs for Dummies.
NFTs for Dummies. Episode title.
NFTs for Dummies.
No, the Dummies Guide to NFTs. If that's
NFT for SEO, bro. NFT for SEO. You know.
Okay, there you go.
You know what I'm saying?
So here you go. Here's our interview with Jonathan Mann. So over the last few weeks, we've talked a lot about the podcast, about the rise of NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens. We've seen a lot of musicians over the last couple of weeks and months sort of dip their hand into this new cryptocurrency. Grimes has done it. The Weeknd has done it. And we have faked an understanding of NFTs, but honestly, in fact, don't understand NFTs, at least to the extent that we probably should. So we decided to talk to someone who is a bit more of an expert in it than we are. Jonathan Mann, he is the co-host of Digitally Rare, which is a show about cryptocurrency. And you have been, I found this out, have been making a song a day for like the past 12 years.
Yeah.
And are now selling
I'm
some as NFTs.
Exactly. I'm in year 13 is how I like to think about it.
In year 13.
I'm currently with, about a quarter of the way through year 13. Yeah.
Lucky number.
Indeed.
And you're now selling some of those songs as NFTs now.
Yeah. So that's as good a place to start as any with NFTs, is like where I came into it, which is it actually happened for me like almost 4 years ago now. It's 2017. And that's when I discovered CryptoPunks for the first time. And I imagine people will now be a little bit more familiar with CryptoPunks. Have you guys seen CryptoPunks, that project?
We have not. We're new to the crypto world.
Yeah. So CryptoPunks is sort of one of the oldest and most kind of beloved projects in the space. And it's what attracted me 4 years ago, and I feel like it's what attracts a lot of people. It's like the thing that got a lot of people into it. So CryptoPunks is 10,000 procedurally generated 25 by 25 pixelated punks. So they're none of them are the same. They all have different attributes, and you collect them like you would trading cards or anything else. And when you go and look at them, the feeling I got back then was just like, it gave me like this really warm, like nostalgic feeling of being a kid and like collecting things. It made me think of like back then, it made me think of Muscle Men. Are you guys, I don't know if we're in the right generational cross section to remember Muscle Men, but Muscle Men were these little like pink guys that I collected when I was a kid. And they were all different. They were very Japanese, and they were like little wrestlers, and they all looked different. And I loved collecting them. And so when I saw CryptoPunks, it's the first thing I thought of. And the second thing I thought of was like, holy shit, I make a song a day, and how could I apply this idea of like many things in a series that you could collect. But to back up even further, let's talk a little bit about like what NFTs actually are.
That's what I was just gonna say, because I want to dig into Song a Day more. But
yeah,
I think, and to preface this, I want you to treat us like we are fifth graders almost.
Yeah, that's great.
Like, what's an NFT?
I love to do that. So first of all, like the thing we like to say on our podcast, if you ever hear the word fungible, like you've already failed. Like forget about the word fungible, because who cares? So just put like the actual acronym out of your mind. And all NFTs is there's a sort of one concept that you have to accept, and if you can accept this idea, then from there's a lot of other things we can talk about. So the one idea that you have to accept is that NFTs for the first time make it so that digital assets can become scarce for the first time. Up until now, anything digital could be replicated infinitely perfectly, and NFTs, the blockchain, allows us to make assets scarce, digital assets scarce for the first time. And one of the key components in that is that to understand is that it's not the art itself that is scarce, as you may have seen. Like, there's a great meme around NFTs, which is like, I can just right click and save this image. Now I own it. Ha ha ha. You paid like $69 million for it, but I got it for free. You're not owning the image. What I like to say is you're sort of owning the receipt for the image. You're owning like a thing that says that you own the thing. That's the thing that's scarce, is the token that you get. And the token is really just a string of numbers. That's all it is. It's a string of numbers. But that string of numbers, in some cases, is directly tied, and in other cases is a little bit more wobble, like sort of a wiggly line tied to the actual thing. So when someone bought that Grimes song or whatever, they weren't buying the song. They were buying a token that says that they own the song. And it's the token, it's the receipt that people can then resell, or it's the receipt that can then open up other sort of possibilities.
Okay, so when you say making a digital asset scarce, so like, and this, so I can have a conceptual example. So if we took like a Grime song that's released, anyone can access that song. So that song isn't scarce. It can be put on YouTube. I can listen to it whenever. My friends can listen to it. But if I own an NFT, it becomes scarce because I now own the actual ownership of the song. I have a receipt, and that receipt is what's now like valuable and rare, and what everyone doesn't have.
Exactly. It's the receipt. It's and that, that's an abstraction, and to really understand it, honestly, like, I've been in the space since 2017. So in some ways I'm an expert, but honestly, like, really only really smart people understand it. And sometimes I wonder if even they don't understand it. And if we're being totally honest, there's a whole layer of kind of magic that is involved here, because you can go all the way back to money, right? We all know that money is this consensual hallucination that we all agree has value. A piece of paper, it has value only because we all agree that it does. It's a story that we all tell each other. That's the value of anything, any art, anything like that. That's true of. So that's very true in the NFT space. There is this kernel of truth, which is that the blockchain allows for this particular string of numbers to be passed around between people, this token, in a way that is verifiably, and unhackably true, basically. So when Grimes sells you that song, aka that token, it's imprinted on the blockchain, and the blockchain is like this source of truth that can't be messed with. And so that's the sort of kernel of truth at the heart of what makes these things scarce. On top of that is built many stories that we all kind of tell each other. That's at the heart of anything that is valuable, and that's very much true at the heart of it's why it's why people can sell something like a digital thing for $69 million. That's just a story. It's why CryptoPunks, that project I started out talking about, the most valuable CryptoPunk went for $8 million. The CryptoPunks are now going to be sold through Christie's. Also, they're going to have an auction. God knows how much they're going to sell for. That's all stories. That's the reason for that.
Who's attaching? I'm going to follow up. Then I know Avery has a question. Who's attaching value to these things? Like, who's the one that determines, okay, well, this is now worth 8 million, or this is now worth, because I know you said it's all this story. So like, how is value then determined from that story, I guess?
Yeah, it's a great question. And for musicians thinking about getting into this space, that is a question that you have to grapple with and answer. And there's no easy answer. In a lot of ways, it's the same way that we sort of value anything in this capitalist society, right? Like, at this point in time, it has a lot to do with attention. And what kind of attention can you get to your project? It specifically in the NFT space, there's the wider attention economy of social media, and then there's a very specific attention economy within NFTs that you kind of have to grapple with. And I'm not gonna lie, like, a lot of it right now is based around how to put this delicately, like making money, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. Like, a lot of the people who are the sort of quote unquote influencers, and we all hate that word, like, who are the influencers in that space, are people who buy and sell these pieces with the explicit intention of making a profit. That's sort of like their end goal, and that's like a huge part of what gives these things value. And my wife sometimes will hear me like talking about my Song a Day project and the NFT thing, and she's like, I'm just warning you, like, you sound like a finance bro right now, and if you get too deep into this, like, it's sort of inevitable, because it's all connected to money, essentially. And so it's a little dangerous if that squigs you out the way it does me. But there's also just a layer of, for me, there's just a real layer of fun in it too, and that's what attracted me at first, and I try to like grab onto that as hard as I can and not let go.
So you've said like money is the primary driving factor behind selling an NFT or music as an NFT. What additional like benefits are there for musicians in NFTs? Like, what makes it so different from just like, like what Wu-Tang did with one album or something like that? Like,
yeah. So the way there are like really interesting things you can do within NFTs. And I mean, one of the things that I've found that's really fun is that because there's like this, I have these connections now with the people that own my songs, and I feel like the people that own my songs, I've heard from them, and they've told me how the songs make them feel, and they've told me what they think of the songs and things like that. And I get that, outside of the NFT world, but there's something really special about someone like collecting your work. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between just buying your album and they're collecting, like, and in my case, they're all one of one. You can do it so that there's editions. So I could make 10 copies and sell them, and this is the first edition, second edition. I do all one of one, and it's really fun like talk to the people and interact with the people who are collecting you, whether or not they're doing it. You know, some people, a lot of them, like I said, are doing it for money, but not everybody. So that's like one really fun benefit. Yeah.
What I was wondering, and I guess I feel like what a lot of people are wondering is that like it feels like the last, I guess you would say 2-3 months or maybe 2021, not only NFTs, but like something like Top Shot with like sports and whatnot.
Yeah.
In terms of coming popular. I think a lot of people are wondering like where did this come from? Like what made it such a phenomenon now that people and artists are, feel like investing in this and putting their time in this, because I think a lot of people are like, well, it just came out of nowhere and now artists are just hopping on the wave or, are just,
Yeah.
getting involved in it. And they're, we're assuming they're not experts on it because it just became a thing that, the masses just found out about. So I guess I would say like what's been making it so what's gotten it to the point where it feels like it's so popular and, people just feel like investing their money and time into it.
It's a really good question. So to go back, like to give a brief history, like the very first sort of widespread NFT project before they were even called NFTs was only back in 2016. So that's like 5 years ago. And that was called Rare Pepes. And it had to do with Pepe the Frog, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And maybe that he became a hate symbol, but that's not how he started. And the sort of the Rare Pepes thing was sort of outside of the hate symbol part of it. And that just grew out of the fact that like people already were making these things called Rare Pepes, where they just would make Pepe memes. And then this guy, Joe Looney, set up a marketplace on Bitcoin to buy, sell, and trade. Anyone could make a Rare Pepe and sell it. CryptoPunks was basically the second project. And then there's a project called CryptoKitties, which was made by the same people who did Top Shot. But to answer so that was just back in 2017. And so to answer your question, my theory, and no one really knows, but my theory was like the reason it's happening now is that cryptocurrency, just like the stock market, just like capitalism, operates on a boom and bust cycle. It's as reliable as the seasons. You know what I mean? It'll happen. So 2017, when this initial thing happened, we hit a big boom. That was a boom time for maybe like a month and a half. The cryptocurrencies went way up and then they crashed. And from 2017 to roughly now, to roughly like 3 or 4 months ago, it was what we called a crypto winter, where like the prices were really low. And then suddenly it boomed again. And what happened was that a lot of people, including like the Top Shot people, were all during that time when cryptocurrency was low and people weren't paying attention, they were just building stuff. They were building projects that interested them. And, and so, the difference between 2017 boom and now is just that there's a ton of people who spent all that time building websites. There's basically in 2017, there was like one place that you could go to make to buy and sell NFTs, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2 tops. Now there's like a dozen or something. And I think like what happens is that crypto goes really high. To give you a sense, like at its lowest point in the winter, I think Ethereum, which is where most of these NFTs happen, was like $300 or something. And now it's like at $2,100. So when Ethereum takes off like that, it just generates interest in crypto. And it just so happens that this time that interest also coincided with an interest in NFTs. I can't say exactly why that happened. I think Top Shot probably had a lot to do with it. Honestly, CryptoPunks also, it seemed like this time, because I saw people get like people like Mark Cuban got super obsessed with CryptoPunks, and like just these people. and I can tell you from my perspective as someone who was in it in the 2017 to see it now is like it's been just really weird, you know what I mean? It's just been like this thing that a couple years ago was just like 5 of us in a basement like nerding out about it. It's like having a favorite band, you know, like a band that nobody knows suddenly like win a Grammy or something. It's like, what the heck? Like everyone knows about this band that I thought was just like my thing. So yeah, I don't know exactly why it happened, but I think like that all these sort of confluence of things was like contributed to it.
I have like three more questions for you, but the first one I'm going to ask is I've been doing some reading about people who feel that, to your point, we could be about to see a bust in this, you know, after
Yeah.
this sort of explosion of popularity. Do you, based on what you're saying and what you're seeing, and you know, the seasons of, you know, crypto popularity, do you foresee something like that coming?
I think it's a matter of when, not if. I think you know it's sort of predictable in that way. And also I have this sense that like there's a lot of if you get really deep into reading about how Bitcoin especially works, there's some like really shady stuff that happens. And I think that without some of the shadier things, specifically, there's like this, we can go off on this tangent. There's this company called Tether, and they're really shady. And they, in some ways, might be propping up the entire cryptocurrency thing. And so if something happened to them, the whole thing could take a big dive. You know, I tend to think that regardless of what happens with cryptocurrency in general, there's still going to be people, just like there were last time, who are going to be in the space still interested and still building. And in some ways, the most fun time that I had in NFTs was during that lull, you know, because that's when people are like the you know, that's like when the diehards are there or whatever, you know, who really believe in it and are into, you know, some of the more fun aspects of it.
So, you know, one thing I feel that we haven't touched on a lot that I kind of want to make sure we get from this interview is really the benefit of owning an NFT for the consumer, the person who buys it. So you sell you sell music as an NFT. What I've always been curious of is, okay, if let's say the Weeknd, who said I'm gonna make this song and video as an NFT and let people buy it. If
Yeah.
I own that NFT, what does that then give me? You know, do I collect royalties on these songs?
Right.
Do I have a say in where these songs are distributed? Like, do I have
Right.
any sort of any of the rights that come with ownership by having this NFT?
No. In most instances you don't. And I want to go back really quick because there's one thing I want to make sure I say about a benefit to the artist, and then I'll talk about the benefit to the buyer.
Sure.
Because there's something I like for musicians thinking about NFTs. I don't think you should think about them as a get rich thing. I think you should think about them as just another tool that you could possibly use. So the way I like to describe it is like, you know, I started writing a song a day in 2009, right? And I post them on YouTube. So YouTube is like basically my home for the project, and like I collect YouTube royalties. I'm on a Patreon style site where I have patrons that pay me every month. You know, I'm on all streaming platforms, and I get money from the streaming platforms. And NFTs would just be another tool that the artists can have in their tool belt, along with all the other things that you have to do as an artist to make a living in this crazy world. And so that's the way to think about it. It's just like, look at the space, be in the space, see how you might make an impact and sell something. So that's my advice in general to artists would be. But to the consumer, so to your other question, the answer in almost all instances is no. There's no the royalty thing is complicated. You know, originally when I was doing Song a Day, what I wanted to do was have some kind of way for royalties to flow back to the people, because it makes sense. It's like a very natural question to ask, because music has this whole apparatus of royalties that's connected to it. The problem is that NFTs are in this sort of like crypto land, and bridging the gap into the real world of money land not only is difficult, but also opens up a lot of things in which the SEC would actually start to come knock on your door, possibly. So once you start offering people like real world money, it gets complicated. This is what lawyers have told me. So all that being said, there are like really interesting things that you can do. One of the most obvious things that you can do is, since it's this like verifiable token that you have, just imagine all the things that you can do with like a verifiable token. Like, you know, they could get access to special, like people that own your NFTs could get access to special things that you do. They could get access to physical things that you do. They could, you know, only if you can provably, you know, they scan your phone. Do I have that NFT? Oh, then you can get into the show or whatever, like the secret special show. That's like a thing that could happen. Yeah, and then there's like a lot of other crazier like social token distributed organization things that can happen. That's not really my wheelhouse. I could maybe suggest someone else for you that could come on and talk about some of the stuff. There's a lot of like crazy shit that you can do beyond that. But at the end of the day, for me, what I imagine is like, and this is what I always used to say, like, if Jonathan Richman, who's like one of my favorite artists, like made an NFT, which he never would, but like if he did, like I would buy one of his songs as an NFT like in an instant, just because I'm a huge fan of his, and like the idea of like owning the thing is really special to me. There's something about collecting that like scratches an itch that I feel like that a lot of us, I mean, certainly me, I don't get to itch that often. And this is like something that scratches that itch for me.
So where this gets like super interesting for me, and you kind of touched on it, and you mentioned that you have a Patreon style thing already, is like the membership aspect of this, like where you're kind of like some sort of like digital shareholder in somebody, right? So like, is that the evolution of this? Is that where this goes after collection?
Yeah, it could definitely be, you know, there almost is like just a natural shareholder aspect to it, because you know, the one of the main things that Ethereum, the platform, it's a cryptocurrency platform, creates is just like instant marketplaces, right? It's just like instant capitalism there. And so in a very rudimentary way, just by owning someone's NFT, you are by nature investing in them, because if they suddenly, if I were to suddenly blow up tomorrow somehow miraculously, all these people that own these like 133 people that own my first 365 Song a Day songs would see though the value of those songs go up just by the nature of me becoming bigger. So if you invest in some artist that you really believe in and you buy their NFT, the brilliant thing about that is twofold. One, you can resell it at some time and potentially, you know, get rewarded for your early belief in that artist. The other thing is, because these markets that are created within Ethereum, they're all programmable. They're all sort of done automatic on the blockchain. Most sites have this thing programmed in where, let's say, you know, I sold all of my NFTs the first year of Song a Day, 365 songs. I sold for 0.1 ETH. each, which at that time was about $180 per song. Let's say I blow up and now people can sell them for 10 ETH, right? I get 10% back of anything, of any resale that happens. So if someone suddenly can sell one of my NFTs for 100 ETH, I'll get 10 ETH out of that. Just like that's a huge amount of money. And that's like, so there is a potential for this really amazing sort of relationship to happen, where if people believe in you early and then suddenly you become big, and ideally there's like a virtuous cycle, hopefully, where they want to build you up. They become your biggest cheerleaders because they literally have a financial stake in like an agent almost, like an agent who takes 10% of what you do. They have a stake in you succeeding.
I won't be long. One of my questions was that, I guess for people that are interested, or our listeners who are interested in getting involved in NFT, like how do people like, hey, I'm interested in it, I've read up on it, I've done all this research, how do I get in the game exactly? Because I think a lot of people are wondering, okay, NFT, can anybody just jump into it? Do you have to be of a certain status or a certain something? So
yeah,
if you want to get in the game in NFTs, how do you get involved in that? If
are
you're
you
just like a regular
saying, are
person?
you saying from the perspective of someone wanting to be an artist doing it,
I
or
guess
like more?
I guess both sides.
Yeah.
If you're an artist, or if you plan
Or
on
collecting.
buying or collecting. Exactly.
So my advice would be essentially from the buying side, like my biggest advice is like, don't spend any money that it's not, you shouldn't ever approach it as a way to make money. Like it's like people that do day trading on Robinhood or something. It's like, you're going to lose money, like if you approach it from that perspective. So that being said, like if there are, from a collector's point of view, like if there's an artist who's making something that you really want, that you think that would make you feel good to collect, do that. Like, it's not exactly the easiest thing still to create a wallet and get your seed phrase and learn about what gas is. It's all very complicated still to get involved in this world. But like, if there's something that in there that you want to collect and you think is cool, like do that, is great. It's a great way to support an artist. You'll make the artist feel good and you'll feel good about collecting it, but don't try to make money doing it. And similarly, I would say to artists wanting to do it, it's not, the crazy thing about it is it's not actually cheap to do. It costs money to mint on these platforms, depending on what's called gas fees, which is basically the fees that you have to pay in order to make the network run. These are fees that are not paid to the platforms. There are fees that are paid to the platforms when you sell, but the fees that you're paying just to mint something and to post something are sold to what are called the Ethereum miners, the people whose computers are doing the work of making the tokens scarce, essentially, is a way to think about it. So what I do is, and what I would suggest to any artist is, like, if there's anyone in your life who is already involved, go to them, or like ask around and find somebody in your circle, in your network, who's like already in the world. And what I tell everybody is to basically, like, what I do is when I have a friend come to me and say, hey, I really want to get NFTs, I pay for them to get onto the network. Like, I don't want you to spend your money doing it. Like, that's how it happened for me. Back in 2017, I had a friend who was like, oh, you're interested in Ethereum? Here's like $40 in Ethereum, which was enough to do stuff back then. It's not now, unfortunately. Like, go play was literally what he said to me. And I've taken that feeling, and I've passed it along to any of my friends who want to get involved. And that's what I just tell everybody who's already in the space to bring people in. I would say if you don't have anyone in your life or in your circles who's doing it, just like tread really carefully is basically what I would say, because it'll cost like depending on what gas fees are, it could cost anywhere from like $100 to $500 just to get started, just to post something. So you don't want to do that unless you're like really interested and you have that money just laying around. You don't want to do it otherwise.
I'm wondering if we can get even more granular, like, because for me, as at least on the buying level, I'm wondering, is there like a website you go to? Is there an app you download? I don't know if that's my like naivete,
Sure,
but I'm like,
what's
the step one?
Yes, step one is to download a wallet, and the right now the sort of industry standard wallet is called MetaMask. You just go to metamask.io, and signing up for that will feel basically familiar. The difference is that your credentials, they don't hold your credentials. It's not like if you lose your credentials, you can write to them and you can say, I forgot my password. You can't do that with this. This is what decentralization means. It means that they don't have any access to anything that you do. So you go to metamask.io, they're going to make a big deal about this. Like, here's your seed phrase. And your seed phrase is the thing that lets you get back into your thing if you lose it. They're like, write it down, put it somewhere safe. It's a string of like 20 words or something. So you do that. And then you have a wallet. And right now you basically have an empty wallet with nothing in it. Then the next thing you would have to do is you'd have to go somewhere and buy some Ethereum, which right now is $2,100 per ETH. So you could buy, 0.1 Ethereum for like $200 or something. And then there's a transaction. It's complicated. You put that into your MetaMask, right? And now you're ready to collect something that's going to cost less than 0.1 ETH. There's other platforms. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it because there's other blockchains. There's a blockchain called Tezos, which is much cheaper to use. But Ethereum is the place where most of these things are being traded. Everybody that we've talked about so far, The Weeknd, Grimes, CryptoPunks, everything, all these things are on Ethereum. So, you'd get that, and then you'd go to a site like Rarible.com or Foundation.app or SuperRare.co or OpenSea.io. These are some of the sites that you could go to and look for something to buy. Again, like I wouldn't do any of that unless there was like someone putting something out that you were like, holy shit, I want that. Like, I gotta have that thing specifically. I wouldn't go through that whole process of doing it necessarily. And there's long been the promise. I mean, this was a big conversation back in 2017. It's still a conversation now of like, how do we make all of this cheaper? How do we make all of this easier for non-crypto people to do? Because it's all a bit, you can hear me just talking about it. It's all still a bit like convoluted and difficult.
Yeah, that was a helpful explanation. And honestly, this entire conversation, I think, has sort of helped all of us gain a better understanding of the world of NFTs and honestly crypto as a whole, because I feel for a long time it felt pretty fringe, and now it's becoming very mainstream. And it's good to have at least a base understanding of how all this stuff works. But Jonathan Mann, we have kept you on for 20 minutes longer than I told you, so we're gonna go
No
ahead
worries.
and wrap this up. But thank you so much for talking to us. And is there anything you want to promote? I know your Song of the Day project is super cool.
Yeah. A couple of things. So if you're interested in, Digitally Rare, our podcast is specifically about NFTs. It was the first NFT podcast specifically. So you can find that, anywhere you find podcasts, digitally rare. And then my Song a Day project, you can usually find me tweeting about it at Song a Day Man on Twitter. That's 2 N's, MANN, Song a Day Man. That's a good place to find me.
All righty. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll definitely check out your podcast. And yeah, we hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. That was really fun.
Okay, so that was our interview with Jonathan Mann. So basically, what I've garnered from that, NFTs, they're digital assets, songs, cards, whatever, and basically you can collect them and trade them and hope that they grow in value, and you can eventually resell them. It's more so like stock, kind of like I get it. It's really like stocks.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah,
in my opinion, is when you start treating it as like a membership thing, or as like you're investing into someone.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and people were like, the question a lot of people was like, well, if I just downloaded it, take a screenshot of it, that mean I own it. The way he described it, and you guys correct me if he said it's like having a receipt,
right? Like a pink slip, like the pink slip to a car.
Like a pink slip to a car. So you don't have it.
Fascinating, because I love that we talked about like the actual ownership, because that was my biggest confusion thing. And it's not about, you don't do this to make money. Like that, you don't get into NFTs to make money. You do it to support our artists and honestly have a collectible item. Like I would love to have a little receipt saying I own this Weeknd song that I love. If the Weeknd put After Hours as an NFT, my ass would be the first one to buy Faith. So that's cool.
We didn't ask him about it, but one thing when I was like initially doing my research about NFTs, like what I thought was interesting was like they were talking about how people might have like digital museums or digital like galleries of like all these things that they've collected as NFTs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's really cool. And so shout out again to Jonathan Mann for talking to us. Follow him on Twitter and check out his podcast, Digitally Rare.
Rare.
That's correct. And his Song of the Day project. But let's wrap this one up, because this felt like a long episode. So Billboard highlights, Call Me By Your Name, Montero debuted at #1 by Lil Nas X. I don't know why conservatives and people thought that, hey, if we critique this song and call it out and hate on it so much, that will somehow hurt its sales. It didn't. Debuted right at #1. Giving Lil Nas X the second #1 song. I'm really happy for him, because, I feel like a lot of people wrote him off as a one-hit wonder with Old Town Road, even though he had Panini and those other songs, they didn't reach the same success. And this, he did it. And like, I'm giving credit where it's due.
Planned for all of this. It's pretty incredible. Like he was ready for every single ounce of criticism he got, and he had comebacks, he had business strategies, everything. It was pretty amazing.
And no, eventually we're gonna have a conversation about how I personally feel like he's revolutionizing how artists handles their haters.
I agree.
Because he used humor and trolling to take the power and sting out of so much of the hate he got, to the point where like you would have started laughing at people, and it's an absurd.
He also used like the rage machine and the like, oh, I'm gonna be mad about this today to a T, like so perfectly with the shoes. Like he was pretty incredible what he did.
I'm not gonna say he revolutionized it, because people coming back at their trolls is nothing new. He just does it better. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say revolution. He just does it better. He's just funnier than everybody else.
I can't think of another artist.
Well, he planned for all this. Like he was ready.
Who planned, had the memes, had the tweets, went at it with the senator, like or Christine Oma governor. Like I feel like I can't think of any other artist who has done it in such a masterful way as Lil Nas X, and it worked for him.
Like nothing was off the cuff. Like everything was like he was ready.
He was ready.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was ready. But I'm not gonna say revolutionize it for sure. I'm not gonna say that.
You think of another artist? You think of another artist?
I mean,
Cardi B came back at everybody just a couple weeks ago. We did a whole episode. We just did a whole thing. Remember with the women in media? She was coming back at people left and right. So I'm not gonna say revolutionize just because he had a couple tweets on deck. I love Lil Nas X. He's hilarious, but just because he had a couple tweets on deck, I'm not gonna use the word revolutionize now. Come on now.
Okay.
It's Twitter, guys. He didn't save the world here, guys. Come on now.
No, it's not just Twitter. It was the shoes.
For sure. The shoes, the whole rollout plan.
Responded to all of his hate, in my opinion, was revolutionary in its scope for this song. Coming out with a pair of Satan shoes to get people even more mad, that hasn't been done before. Hitting governors back with memes and trolling them, and like just having a response for everything. I don't feel like Cardi B did it as well, and I feel like Lil Nas X, if he didn't revolutionize it, he took it to a new level. That's all I'm saying.
I said he did it better.
This doesn't need to be the hill we die on. So like it's just, we have different opinions. It's fine. Cool. And then I want to talk about Pop Smoke, because if you go to #9, Pop Smoke is still at 10, excuse me. What Do You Know About Love? Pop Smoke, 30 weeks on this chart and it's still number 10. And that's down 1 from last week. And it's insane to me. We're soon approaching, if we haven't already passed, the 1-year anniversary of his death. And it's like the fact that his music is still trending so well almost makes me ask like how huge he would have been had he still, if he was still with us, because I don't feel like this is one of those things that like, oh, this is just because he's passed and people do it for nostalgia purposes. I think this song just has staying power, as his album does, which you'll see when you go to the Billboard. That's still charting in the top 10. And that's incredible for a rap album a year later for an artist who's no longer with us. Rap as a whole had a very good week on the Billboard 200. Rod Wave debuted at number 1 with Soulfly. I'm very happy for Rod Wave. It's his first number 1 album. And he sort of like came up over the last year, right? Like Rod Wave sort of exploded in popularity.
Yeah.
And now he's been rewarded for it. And he beat out like Carrie Underwood, which I feel is significant. That feels significant to me.
Another guy who has songs off of TikTok. He definitely has some, I want to say he's a TikTok artist, but definitely he has some songs that are very, very popular on TikTok.
Was he on the XXL list last year?
Yeah, he was. XXL. So yeah,
Pop Smoke there, number 7, just chilling. 39 weeks
from Florida. So yeah.
And like I'm also finding that like while you have artists like Pop Smoke sticking, Lana Del Rey's I never thought I'd use those in the same sentence. Lana Del Rey's Chemtrails didn't stick, and I was so shocked because it was so good. It dropped from number 2 to 40.
It hasn't had like the push that Norman effing Rockwell did. Like, doesn't have I don't know. It doesn't have like the same. It's a good album. It doesn't have like the hits or like at least, she like covered the Sublime song in there and all that. So
yeah.
What's
I wasn't expecting.
What's also interesting is that 24K Golden has an album that's new, but it's like pretty low. It's like 30th something. It was 22, which is pretty low because considering he has one of the biggest songs in the world, and that just shows
Mood
that
is still charting high. That's a very good point.
Mood is in the top 10 exactly. It was like I don't remember. It was like 8 or 7, one of those. But it's been there for a while, and it just shows that just because you have a huge single doesn't mean it always equates to
I'm happy you pointed that out because that is surprising to me because a lot of rap albums and EPs have been trending very well on this chart. Like Lil Durk his album debuted pretty high. King Von's release debuted pretty high.
I think everyone who's getting famous off TikTok has to pay attention to what 24K Golden's trying to do. He has a quote where he says like in every song that he writes, he has TikTok in mind, where he wants a section of it to go viral on TikTok.
Well, I'm saying it hasn't worked for this album because it's pretty low.
That's what I'm saying. Is I think everyone who's getting popular off of TikTok needs to be paying attention to this.
Exactly. That caters itself to singles, but like a single won't carry an album, and that's what I think this shows me. Unless at least when you're new and still like rising, a single won't carry an album.
Another XXL freshman from last year.
There you go. So that's my Billboard highlights for this week. Products of the week, people. Nnamdi, go.
You.
Right. So I wanted to call out this Demi Lovato album because I always like to give Pop a couple shout outs this week, and because I have to decide if I was going to say what I was thinking, and because I'm not going to. DMX's overdose and death made me think of Demi Lovato, so I was listening to her album. That's just the truth. So and I'm happy to say it's a really good album. It was really, really good, and I was surprised about that because I feel like a lot of times these comeback recovery type of albums aren't always that great, but this one felt very deep and insightful, and she sings really well. So give it a couple of listens. Songs that I liked. She has a feature with Ariana Grande that I could see being a very big smash. Met him last night. Easy. A lot of like slower songs, like Billie Eilish-esque, maybe Lorde-esque, like in that wheelhouse type of thing.
Really?
I think it really works for her because she can sing. She's always been able to sing very, very well. So like this, shout out to Demi Lovato and her album, Dancing with the Devil: The Art of Starting Over.
Interesting. How long is it? Just wondering. How long is it? It's like 15.
It's not that bad. Not bad. 23 songs.
23. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, an hour and 12 minutes.
Oh my god. Sorry, I won't be listening. Okay. Free party. Shout out to our guy Dave Nnamdi who put us on. Actually, free party. I think the guys are from Baltimore. I'm not sure. I forgot. But free party. Mirrors in a Dark Room. This is our 2021 project. 7 songs, really good. They're just dope. Our guy Dave played it, when I was in New York, and I
No,
really
Dave
liked it.
Colton.
Dave Colton. So
No,
yeah.
you were in New York.
Oh, I was.
I didn't even tell you. That's crazy.
Was that before or after Belgium? That
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was a good project.
all right, Avery.
My project of the week is Vessel by 21 Pilots. This is like their second album after their self-titled one. The rumors of them coming out with a song this week like heated up at the beginning of the week, and it just made me want to listen to them again. So yeah, it's their. I think every one of their albums that they've come out with has gotten better and better, but this one just has a couple songs that I just had I felt like returning to. So
Nope.
This playlist is gonna be so interesting.
yeah, it is.
It's gonna have DMX, Demi Lovato, Free Party, and 21 Pilots. Probably a Taylor Swift song on there. Probably Brockhampton. Perhaps Prince. Perhaps SZA. Stay tuned because it's gonna be great. But that does it for us this week. Thank you for tuning into the 97 demo. Our playlist will be out on Tuesday. The episode will be out Monday. If you're listening to this, you know that. And yeah, we'll be back with you next week for our Brockhampton review. So we'll see you then.